Welcome back to Joy News Desk. Now, persons with autism are generally regarded as dumb and useless and will normally be sidelined by society. But research indicates persons with autism are among some of the most gifted when it comes to pattern recognition, logical reasoning, as well as a greater attention to detail. Now, with UN figures suggesting that 80% of adults with autism are unemployed, it means a huge chunk of persons who could have helped advance the cause of mankind are denied the opportunity to do so. So, what are the chances of getting the world, and specifically Ghana, to change the way it sees autistic people? Joy News' Hannah Odami explores this as Ghana joins the world to celebrate World Autism Awareness Day today.
People with autism have said that the world to them is a mass of people, places and events which they struggle to make sense of and which can cause them considerable anxiety. To them, the definition given to this invisible disability, a lifelong developmental condition that affects the way they relate to their environment and their interaction with other people, perfectly applies to their way of life. This lifelong developmental disability, which also affects how a person communicates, has no cause. Dr. Ebenezer Beidou is a consultant pediatrician at the Child Health Department at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He tells me no week passes without a positive diagnosis of a child with autism.
We have an important milestone which we call proto-imperative pointing, which means a child around 1 year starts to point to things of interest. So the child wants milk or juice in front of him, so they point to it because they want it, and the mother gets it. Then around 18 months, another development occurs, which is what we call proto-declarative pointing. And in that, the child points to something of joint interest now. By that, I mean the child points to something of interest to the child, like he's seen a cat go by, but wants mother also to see the cat. So that is an important milestone.
This year, the world is focusing on employment, the autism advantage, as a theme for the day. 32-year-old Norte Kweno was born with autism, but he's gone on to learn some motor and sensory skills to help him stay employed. For 3 hours each working day, he folds, binds and packs magazines at this printing press. His employer, Ama Michael Niyama, says he never saw Norte's disability as an issue.
Norte is very good to work with. He understands what he has to do at the right time, at the right place. That's folding. He stitches, as you can see, using the staple, the hand staple machine, and then a lot of the work that.
For people to accept that autism exists, they need to appreciate that persons with autism need to be accorded some dignity. For Dr. Beidou, this can be achieved with the introduction of disability as a course in schools.
There's an interesting development again outside where they teach children in primary schools a lot about disability, and I think it's a very good idea. I mean, God help us all, we all laughed at children when we were young. Maybe somebody has a very big head and it's like you just laugh. But do you know why this boy you're laughing at or girl has a big head? Probably has a problem, a real medical problem. So when we don't understand things, we laugh. If you understand, you are very, very supportive. It's just a change in the curriculum. I mean, we can include in our curriculum throughout the country talking about broad baseline disabilities. You know, we know the common ones already. The research is there. We know the areas: vision, hearing, speech and language, all these things. So the common things that our children are living with in Ghana. Why can't we teach everybody to understand the very basics? There are excellent books, for instance, in autism, written by, let's say, a Canadian speech therapist. I found it very useful understanding the condition myself.
Today, Ghana joins the world to celebrate World Autism Day on the global theme, Employment, the Autism Advantage. To start with, persons with autism can be absorbed into the labor force so they can contribute to national development. Focusing on that can help improve their quality of life. But ultimately, it will be good if autism could be added to the next standard treatment guidelines in the health sector. That's Dr. Bede's ray of hope for possible government support.
If you blow away the myths and the mysteries around some of these conditions, that's the first thing. That employing somebody with this kind of problem is probably even more enlightening. It means you understand, you've gone beyond normal thinking to say that I understand this condition, you can work in this capacity. There are a lot of things that they can do. Like I said, a lot of them are highly focused, or some can be very highly focused. They enjoy repetitive things. So what is wrong giving them something to pack, which people do in a, let's say, a factory, and you need to pack? Why can't you give a quota? In Germany and other places, they do give quotas, and it's working beautifully.
For Joy News.
Okay. Back to some politics now. Though Nigerian, former President John Kufuor has admonished the Electoral Commission of Ghana and all political parties in Ghana to learn from Nigeria's independent National Electoral Commission, the INEC, after the success of the just-ended elections in the country. Now, John Kufuor led an ECOWAS election observer delegation to monitor the elections in Nigeria. He also commended INEC for exhibiting professionalism in Saturday's polls. Former President Kufuor stated that the election results were credible and the polls was free and fair. He suggested that the EC and other African countries adopt the Nigerian model of organizing national elections.
I would say it's been a great success story that has happened in Nigeria. The Nigerians acquitted themselves so well that I was so impressed. Peaceful, orderly, and then the electoral system too was so transparent. So even before the count, the observer teams, I would say practically all of us were able to declare, even on preliminary basis, that the process had been free, fair, and credible. The disciplines and the efficiency with which the whole system worked, I believe, indicates that in terms of democratic practice and governance, Nigeria has come of age, very mature, very disciplined, and we hope it will be so around the continent, among all the nations. Then to the electoral system or authority should be manned in a very professional and credible way.
Former President Jerry Rawlings has also commended Nigerians for taking the lead in rejecting corruption at the weekend's poll. In a statement posted on his blog, the former president said the Nigerian election results is a manifestation of the people's resolve to confront corruption, dishonesty, and exploitation. The statement further said the results was a clear message to the new leadership. A bold step has been taken towards a new Nigeria, and the incoming leader cannot be unaware of what is expected of him. Nigerians, he said, did not vote for just anyone, but for a man whose integrity is extremely high. He expressed the hope that the President-elect General Buhari will put together a team whose understanding of the power of the people recognizes and respects the will of the people. He said the new president owed it to his people and Africans the restoration of the pride and dignity of the black man. President-elect Muhammadu Buhari vowed to rid Nigeria of the terror of Boko Haram. In an interview with the BBC, the 72-year-old former military ruler also pledged reconciliation with political opponents who fear a return to his autocratic regime of the 1980s. Now, let's go to the lines now and get some more on this particular one. Joining me is Ibad Ibrahim. He's an international news analyst. Ibad, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning and thanks for having me.
Boko Haram seems to be on the back foot, but the group has vowed to continue the fight. What can Buhari's administration do to defeat this particular group?
First of all, we should demystify the myth of, an aura of invincibility surrounding this new president. Yes, admittedly, he was a military leader, quite instrumental at that, and therefore he comes to the table with much more expertise in cleaning up the security garbage that we've seen in Nigeria in the past 6 years of with like Jonathan's tenure or so. But he can't kill his way out of the Boko Haram crisis. So therefore, thinking that he can use a sledgehammer approach and kill every Boko Haram operative so that Boko Haram fails to exist, I think that begs the question in terms of the military strategy that needs to be adopted. Boko Haram is no longer a group, it's an ideology. So if you kill your way out of the problem, then you don't tackle the inherent problems that precipitated the insurgency in the first place. He's a Northerner, he's a Muslim, and a chunk of the votes he had actually came from Boko Haram ravaged parts of the northeast. Apart from Adamawa State, where he lost to Goodluck Jonathan, and he won at the heart of the Boko Haram insurgency in Borno State, as well as Yobe State. So we wait to see how things pan out. But surprisingly, in terms of foreign policy, I need a lot more convincing from Buhari. In his interview with the international press, he threatened Boko Haram and said soon they will come to terms with the collective resolve of the people. So I wait to see whether by people he means only the Nigerian army standing up to Boko Haram, or he will be accommodating enough of the current military coalition from West African countries like Chad, Niger, Cameroon, and Benin that have, taken the fight to Boko Haram currently. And historically, he's been a xenophobic person. During the Ghana Must Go, repatriation en masse, he was quite instrumental in getting Ghanaians kicked out of the country. And when he was a general, he also fought against the Chadian incursion into Nigeria. So I wait to see. I think it's early days yet. It will be too premature to know what he has up his sleeves in terms of the kind of, trump card he will play in the fight against Boko Haram. But the coalition needs to stay in Nigeria to finish up the business. So therefore, he has to work in concert with other regional leaders. Most instrumental among them is the Chadian leader, Idris Deby, so that they can clean up the northeast and also carry out comprehensive counterterrorism, soft power kind of approaches of tackling the youth unemployment in that area, the level of poverty and illiteracy, so that Nigerians can bid good riddance to the Boko Haram menace. But he can't go about killing people thinking that will resolve the Boko Haram issue.
So, Ebad, what do you think will be the ideal approach at tackling this particular menace, dealing with Boko Haram? What should be the ideal approach?
For some time now, we've advocated the carrot and stick approach. I agree with the preamble you gave. Militarily, Boko Haram's momentum has been rolled back. Even if Boko Haram would want to negotiate at this opportune moment, it will do so from a position of weakness and not from a position of strength. So therefore, some of the fight is based on ethnicity. Some of the fight is based on politics. There are a few hardline puritanical ones that would want to fight till they die. For those people, we can find a way of dealing with them militarily. But there are a few, voices of reason amongst the ranks of Boko Haram. I believe as a Muslim, as a Northerner, someone who speaks their language, I think the time to open up the channel for dialogue with a section of Boko Haram is now and not later.
So let me ask you about, for the various numbers of Nigerians who have lost family members and have been displaced as a result of the activities of Boko Haram, do you think Buhari coming into office brings to them a new hope?
I think this is a conflict situation, and there are steps that need to be taken. Most of the time we advocate the DDR approach. You can add another R if you want. It becomes D squared, R squared. There should be the demilitarization of the region, the northeast. Boko Haram elements should be demobilized. Those of them who want to be rehabilitated and welcomed into the fold of mainstream society should also be done. But the important last R is reconciliation. Egos have been bruised. People have lost limbs. People have lost life and their lives, and they've lost their loved ones as well. So therefore, fundamentally, I would anticipate that Muhammadu Buhari, having all the military machinery at his disposal, with the kind of military discipline he has in his background, I would want to see Abubakar Shekau captured alive so that he is made to face justice. And that would, placate so many hundreds of people or even thousands that have been affected by the carnage that has been visited on them by Boko.
Okay. Ibad Ibrahim is an international news analyst, and he joined us on the telephone. Unfortunately, he couldn't end his statement there. But that'll be it for the hour. My name is Kobna Chenchen Iboating. For more news, do also log on to myjournalline.com. We'll be back with more on News Today. Thank you for your time.